Okay, welcome back for part 2 of my solving equations review. We're going to start at number 21 and go through the rest of these circled problems in the packet, and you can work on the ones that are not circled independently. Starting with number 21, I'm going to go through my flow chart. There is no parentheses, so no distributive property. 2a says to combine like terms. So I look at my equation. I'm going to divide it at the equal sign. Over here I've got 3 terms, which means I must have things that are like that I can combine. So when I look at those 3 terms, I've got a number at the front, an n term, and another n term. So the n's should be able to be combined together, and the negative 8 will just kind of come along for the ride. So positive 3n and negative 7n. I'm going to do positive 3 minus 7. And that's negative 4, so it means I'll have negative 4n when I combine these two together. I like to write my variable first, but you could write the constant first, that would be okay. Then I'm going to bring down this negative 8, so negative 4n minus 8 equals negative 8. Now I have a simple two-step equation, so using my flow chart, I'm going to go to move like terms to one side. All my n's are together already, so I can skip to the next one. Undo addition or subtraction, constant term with the variable. So n is over here, the coefficient is negative 4, the constant is negative 8. I'm going to get rid of this negative 8 by adding 8 to both sides. Negative 4n equals negative 8 plus 8 also cancels out, that's 0, so I'm going to put a 0 there. Negative 4 is being multiplied by n, so to undo that multiplication, I'm going to divide by negative 4 on both sides. I get 1n, or just n, equals 0 divided by negative 4. 0 divided by negative 4 is 0, so my solution is n equals 0. Next is number 23. This one is a little toughy, just because it has so many steps and there's so many places to make a mistake. Negative 7 parentheses 1 plus 4k, close the parentheses, minus k minus 3 equals negative 4. Now I picked this one to go over because it has 2 sets of parentheses, so that's double distribution that I have to do. But also, in front of the second parentheses is just a minus sign, so it's kind of a tricky situation. I wanted to show you this one so that you would know what to do should you see this in the future. So step number 1 says to use distributive property. So I'm going to have to do that twice. I'm going to have to do this negative 7 through this parenthesis, and then this negative sign through the next parenthesis. So to multiply the first one, I've got to do negative 7 times positive 1. Then I have to do negative 7 times positive 4k. Then over here, I have to take this negative sign and distribute it through, but negative is really the same as just negative 1. So I need to do a negative 1 times k. And I need to do negative 1 times negative 3. When I do all 4 of these multiplications out, I will have 4 different terms equal negative 4. So negative 7 times 1 is negative 7. Negative 7 times 4 is negative 28, so that's going to be a negative 28k. Negative 1 times k is going to be negative 1k, or just negative k, either way. And negative 1 times negative 3 will be positive 3, so plus 3 equals negative 4. So next thing on my flowchart says to combine like terms. So over here I've got these 4 terms. The things that are like I'm going to combine together. So I've got my number, negative 7, my other number, positive 3. I'm going to combine those together. Negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. Then I've got negative 28k, negative 1k. Negative 28 minus 1 is negative 29. So I've got minus 29k equals negative 4. So here's my variable. Here's my coefficient to my variable. And I got a constant out here. It's a negative 4. So I'm going to add 4 on both sides. cancel out there. Negative 29k equals 0. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 29. 1k is going to equal 0 divided by negative 29, which is 0. So k equals 0. Two solutions in a row, both equal to 0. Okay, so we made it through 21 and 23. We have 28, 29, and 30 left. So moving on to number 28. This is where we're going to hit the last type of equation that we worked on in class, where I have variables on both sides. So I have 1 minus b plus 3 equals negative 3 minus 2b. So here's my equal sign. Now, I've got to look for distributive property, no parentheses. Look for like terms to combine. Over here, a number and a variable are not going to combine. Over here, a number, a variable, a number. So I've got numbers that can go together. Positive 1, positive 3. So positive 1 and positive 3 is positive 4. Minus b equals negative 3 minus 2b. Now, I like to focus on the smaller of the b's, but the next step says, after I combine like terms, I've got to move my like terms to one side using the inverse. So I could either move these negative 2b's over here or this negative b over there. Some people like the variable to be here, so they always want to move this one. Some people just like the look of one and want to move it. You choose, but I choose the smaller one always to make my numbers less negative, so they're more positive numbers to give me less chance to make mistakes. So this is the smallest one because it's the biggest negative. So I'm going to move this negative 2b over to that side. In order to cross this line, this equal sign, I need to use the inverse operation. So if I see minus 2b, I'm going to add 2b. So I'm going to rewrite my equation. 4 is just going to come down. Negative b, which is actually negative 1b, plus 2b. I need to know what negative 1 plus 2 is, and that is positive 1. So I'm going to have 1b, so positive 1b from when I combine these two, equals negative 3, and this negative 2b and that positive 2b are 0, so they cancel out. Now I'm going to focus on the b. I got to get rid of this 4. So it's positive 4. I'm going to subtract 4. So I'll have 1b equals negative 3 minus 4. Negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. And 1b is really the same as b, so that's just b equals negative 7. No reason to divide because b and 1b are the same thing, so we already have our solution once we get there. All right, 28. 7m minus 21 equals 4 times 1 plus 8m. Here's my equal sign. This one looks very much like the last one, except for I've got parentheses. So I've got to start at that first step. Use the distributive property. So that means 7m minus 21. Nothing's going to change there. Here I'm going to distribute 4 times 1, and then 4 times positive 8m. So positive 7m minus 21 equals 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 8 is 32. It's a positive 32, so I'm going to put a plus in front of it, and then an m behind it. So it's very important that you put a sign in between your numbers, otherwise that might look like 432m. So make sure you always have your equal sign and that you always have a sign, a positive or a negative, between the numbers. If it's a positive number, it gets a plus. If it's a negative number, it gets a minus. All right, so step 2, combine like terms on each side. Over here, I've got a variable and a number. This side, number and a variable, so nothing can be combined on either side. These can't combine, and these can't combine. 2b, move like terms to one side. I've got 7m there, I've got 32m there. So I'm going to move the 7m it's a positive 7m, so I'm going to subtract 7m, using the inverse to bring my m's together from one side to the other. Those are going to cancel out and be 0. I'm going to have negative 21 equals 4 plus 32m minus 7m. So 32 minus 7 is 25. It's a positive 25m. So now I focus on the m. All my m's are here. I got to get rid of this 25 eventually, but more importantly, this constant term needs to go first. It's a positive 4, so I'm going to subtract 4. I've got negative 21 minus 4. Negative 25. So over here I've got negative 25 equals positive 25m. To get the m by itself, I need to get off the coefficient, which is 25. Remember, that's attached by multiplication, so I'm going to divide. Negative 25 divided by 25 is negative 1. Negative 1 equals m. There's our solution. One more problem to go. 30. 30 is a doozy. I see 2 sets of parentheses here. So we've got to do our distributive property twice. But that's why that's step number 1. We get that done first, and then it's combining like terms, moving my variables to the same side, and then it should be super easy after that. So the hardest part is going to be to do the distributive property and not make a mistake. All right, so first I have to do 2 times 8. Then I have to do 2 times 2p equals 3p plus 2 is what gets distributed, so positive 2 times negative 6p, positive 2 times positive 8. Now I'm going to go through and do each of my multiplications. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 2 is 4, so that's a positive 4p equals 3p, bring it down again, plus, oh, hold on, I don't know if that's plus or minus yet. Positive 2 times negative 6. In my calculator, 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. So this is going to be a minus 12p. And then 2 times 8 is 16. It's a positive 16, so plus 16 on the end. So distributive property, done. Next says combine like terms. Over here, I've got 16 and p, so those cannot combine. On this side, I've got 3p and negative 12p, and then a number. So these two are going to combine together. 3p minus 12p. I need to do 3 minus 12, which is negative 9. So I get negative 9p plus 16 on this side, and bring down what we have over here, 16 plus 4p on the left. Now, so combining is done. Bring x's to one side. Smaller one is the negative 9p, so we can bring that over here. It's negative 9, so I'm going to add 9p on both sides. I'm going to rewrite my equation. 16 plus 13p equals, those cancel out and be 0, positive 16. Now I'm going to focus on the p. So I did my x's, brought them to one side. Now I'm going to isolate the variable. So to do that first, I have to get rid of 16. So I've got to subtract 16 on both sides. And rewrite my equation. 0, 13p equals 16 minus 16, which is 0, so 13p equals 0. Next thing I need to do to isolate the variable is get rid of this 13. 13 is attached to the p by multiplication, so I'm going to divide. Already did my subtraction. Divide p equals 0 divided by 13. 0 divided by 13 is 0. P equals 0. So I distributed, I combined like terms, I brought my x's to one side, I subtracted, and then I divided. Now I have my solution. So feel free to go back and watch anything that you need to watch again to hear the explanation on any of these types of problems. I've done one of every type of problem that appears on this review, so you can watch any part that you need as you go through. Try to find one that's similar to the one you're working on to help guide you through. Use your notebook, use your float chart, and be sure to check your answers as you're going to make sure you're doing them correctly. If you don't have enough room on the worksheet, feel free to do your work on a separate piece of paper. Happy solving!